Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at CoreWeave. It is time for another update, and it seems the mix between the poor guidance and the mounting depth is finally getting to CoreWeave, as we have seen a substantial drop post earnings report, and this isn't necessarily unexpected. It has been shown to us in the patterns that this uptrend doesn't have the most probable outcome as the continuation for even higher prices. Now, for context, on this chart, we are still looking at this idea of a 1-2 setup. We have the area of support down to the $48.5, and we have provided this area of support in our first video on this chart when we were still in the very early stages of the correction around this time frame, and we were looking just for a three-wave pattern into the support area. We were looking for a potential reversal even from these zones, and when we have failed to create a more reliable pattern, we have been looking for a reset. Ever since we failed to hold internal levels of support here, we have been looking for this to be only a correction, which would allow a reset of this wave 2 for another low within a larger time frame. And we have gotten this, so we started looking once again for the wave 3 to the upside to start the formation. Now, unfortunately, after this pattern, we have formed only a 3-wave move to the upside. We haven't been able to track this as a more reliable structure. We managed to extend to higher prices afterwards regardless, and it was a preference since our resistance area was not yet reached. We had the first level at the $89.4, and the failure to reach that level was actually suggesting to us that we would rather expect to form another high into the area of resistance before looking for continuation of a larger downtrend anyway, and we were looking for an ABC pattern to form within this area. This was our most likely interpretation, our most likely outcome out of what was happening internally within this push to the upside, and it has been fulfilled. We did attempt to look for a potential leading diagonal, but it didn't manage to hold the internal levels of support, and that has led us to look for a potentially larger leading diagonal that could take place within this area in this interpretation, where we do have an ABC structure to the upside within a wave 1, but it's not an initial 5-wave move to the upside, which doesn't strongly suggest that after a 3-wave correction we would expect continuation within at least another 5-wave move to the upside. So we are at a cross point now, because we are under the resistance of the $127. We have even internal resistance, in fact, but we have the $72 level as the last level of support against which we can still look with some faint degree of reliability for another wave to form to the upside, and even that would not be guaranteed to be the actual wave 3 in yellow. Even that could still be part of this orange interpretation, just a reset of this wave B. But what is even more unfortunate is that we might have even formed a 5-wave move to the downside within this area, where this would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, something like that was considered for us, but we were also allowing this to be just part of an internal ABC pattern within this wave 2 in yellow. We had the area of resistance up to the $104, and only with a break above the 78.6% retracement would we really have been able to look for something potentially more bullish, and it seems we didn't get that. We only formed a 3-wave pattern into this last level of resistance, and all I can really track within this idea is really an ABC structure, within this wave B. Now, I wanted to briefly remind you to leave a like if you enjoyed the video so far, and by the end of the video you can even take it back if you want. But I wanted to do some call to action to help us grow the channel, because we are providing so much content and I believe it is valuable, and I would guess that if you are watching the video still, you would consider it to be valuable too. And if you want to also support us directly, you can check out our channel membership. The link for that is in the description, or you can click the join button. And if you want to get even more from us completely free, you can join our newsletter. The link for sign up is in the description as well. And you will get access to our monthly top picks, where we identify for you high quality structures where you can look for positions, and you can even follow them along with us on YouTube, where we keep them as up to date as possible. Now, getting back to the chart, here I am looking still for this wave C to likely take place, yeah? We have a 3-wave pattern, and it could be the case that we would get direct continuation to higher prices, but it's not a high probability necessarily. Nothing within this entire structure is really suggesting we should trust continuation to higher prices. In fact, we have the last level of support at the $72.4 level that would tell us to look for continuation to even lower prices, and I believe I mentioned this in the previous video as well, but if we actually break the $72.4 level, I worry that it is a great sign that we will not manage to hold even the last level of support within the white structure, because we already have a very large and substantial supposed wave 1, and if we are to build a wave C within this area, which is expected in my opinion if we are to continue to lower prices, I would find it difficult that we would still manage to build it and find ourselves afterwards within this area of support. And even if we don't get a deep break completely invalidating this idea of a 1-2 setup, which really started at the $33 level, yeah, a break below that would already invalidate this idea. And even if we don't invalidate it completely, the break below the 78.6% retracement in white would already strongly suggest that this structure is going to break this idea of a 1-2 setup and is going to form a new low. Now, I believe from a structural point there are great warnings. From a fundamentals perspective, from financial perspectives, the warning signs are there as well, and I believe we should take a moment to consider if we should have a risk off on this stock. Now, again, while we still hold the $72.4, the 78.6% retracement internally, this structure is still able to extend higher, but it's just that I see a strong warning sign within this area, and I worry for the likelihood of actually managing to follow through to higher prices. Now, internally, we are looking at an additional ABC structure in a wave 1 or a wave A, doesn't really matter, and we could be looking for an internal area of support. Now, the thing is, with this structure, we would have already reached our last level. Yeah, we have even pushed below the 78.6% retracement at the $79.5, and I find there to be little likelihood that it will succeed in actually holding this area of support at this point. We are literally consolidating after a very sharp push to the downside within this structure, within this level, and I would expect at any point now to follow through within at least one more low within this area. Yeah, I would be looking at least for a wave C within this blue structure to build before looking for a more substantial bottom, as once again, I would ideally consider this to be an initial 5-wave move to the downside, which would strongly suggest that yes, this is going to form a wave C in this area. We got the 3-wave correction, we are looking for the at least another 5-wave move to the downside that could be forming. So in terms of resistance, what I would be watching for a sign that this will not happen, that we will indeed succeed in pushing to higher prices, I couldn't look anywhere below the 61.8% retracement for a potential internal wave 4 correction within an ending diagonal in a wave C in this area. So something like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Doesn't need to be exactly like this to have the wave 2 top here. Yeah, it could be that the wave 1 ended a little bit lower, potentially even all the way down here. But even then, I wouldn't overthink it, because this idea of resistance up to the $92 level is still possible, and really only with a break above that level will I be looking for something potentially more directly bullish, where yeah, this area of support in yellow for an ABC structure still holds, or who knows, maybe even a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 within a larger wave A. Not here to discuss the potentially bullish scenario, larger structure, the exact pattern that could form. We are watching the relevant levels of resistance and the relevant levels of support. This is what we do here, this is what we provide here, and we provide clear levels where we know the structures are likely going to fail. For example, yes, we know below the $79.5 we are likely going to form at least a break below the beginning of this entire move to the upside. Yeah, it could be theoretically the wave C doesn't form a new low, but realistically that is rather uncommon. and the break below the $72 level would signal to me that very likely we would see a break below the beginning of this entire movement to the upside, which sits at the $63.7. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.